Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown, the unofficial sumo podcast for official sumo fans. This is Ryan.
This is Jake.
And this is our Natsu 2024 Banzuke prediction, or about an hour of Ryan second guessing every single choice that he can. There's just a lot of insecurities on this one just because of the crazy nature of the last Basho and the historic Yusho winner. I don't know how they're going to treat him in this scenario. I have a range of about 4 different ranks that I think Takerufuji could feasibly hold. So yeah, hell, make it 5.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? So yeah, it just kind of cascades down to the bottom of just me being unsure of everything. So I have my trophy, my best Banzuke guy trophy, and it's been true for the past 6 months. I hope it to still be true after this one, but goddamn, am I very unsure about all this.
Yeah. Well, I see that the outline is 10 pages long, so
Yep.
I'm assuming you've got a couple things to say.
I've got some words to share and some thoughts to work through. Unfortunately, I've already turned in my prediction, so I can't change anything that's on here. So as happens sometimes on this podcast where I'm talking through something like, no, damn it, that doesn't make sense. I should have done something different. Don't have the opportunity for that. I've already turned in my prediction.
Oh, yeah. Just for
right.
reference, the day that we're releasing this should be hopefully, if I have my stuff together, the 23rd, which is that the deadline for Guess the Banzuke?
Guess the Banzuke closes May 23rd at, I think, 6 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. And so hopefully that is when this episode will be posted.
Either that, or if not,
or later in that evening.
Yeah. I don't know what Greenwich Mean Time is. It sounds like some sort of math wizardry. So
it's 5
it's
or 6
impossible for
hours
us to
ahead
know.
of us. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right, actually.
About noon our time.
Completely irrelevant to the listeners because it doesn't matter when
They're already listening.
we say now because you're already listening to it.
Yeah.
But as Ryan says, this is how the sausage is made. You know, this is
Exactly.
the behind the scenes. This is we didn't do any planning before hitting record, and now we're talking through our schedule.
Yeah, exactly. Also, at the top of the show, Jake designed real simple but real sleek new Grand Sumo Breakdown t-shirt. Actually, the first Grand Sumo Breakdown t-shirt that I've bought, which says more about me than our t-shirts.
You already did? That was like 2 hours ago.
Yeah. No, I really like it. It's just like the simple like university style.
That's what I was going for. Yeah,
I
was going for like vintage college sweatshirt. But yeah, no, check out our store, Grand Sumo Breakdown, on Redbubble. Yeah, I had some fun. I had a very boring meeting, so I was like, make a t-shirt.
Yeah. All right, let's dive into it. If you're watching this on YouTube, as always, we have our handy guide on the left side of the screen are the results from the Hatsu Basho. If a Rikishi's name is highlighted in green, it means they had a winning record. If it's in red, it means they had a losing record. And if it's not highlighted at all, it's Takekeisho, and I made a mistake, and it should be highlighted green. On the right side of the screen is my prediction. So as we go through where I think everybody is, Jake will reveal it, and so you have a little guide to see the differences of where somebody was in the previous Basho to where I think they're going to end up for the Natsu Basho. We will know all of the answers firm and true on Sunday, April 28th. America time is when that will be coming out, so I think 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock on Sunday, April 28th, and that's for about 2 hours before that is when my anxiety is the highest, the 6 times out of the year that happens. Those are
Yeah.
That's when my anxiety is the highest every 2 months.
So I think I figured out what happened here. We'll send Mac a note to cut this out. I copied over the numbers, but not the shading. That's why it's off.
Ah, okay. No. Okay, none of those people are correct. Why did you need to copy?
Because I made a new page.
Okay.
And that's why it's got the nice cleaner looking black outline.
Sure.
Okay, so through the magic of editing, everybody is shaded the correct color now.
Hey, look at that.
Look
We
at
did it.
that. Wow. Wow, it's so magical.
All right. And
I hope we actually remember to send him a note and we don't just have that.
you won't.
No, I won't. It'll be funny either way. It's
Yeah.
all right.
Yep. All right. Starting at the top at Yokozuna, it is still, of course, Takerufuji alone on the east side. Uh, nothing else to say. He had a losing record. Too bad he's a Yokozuna. He's not going anywhere. At Ozeki, a little bit of a shuffle here as they're all going to be rearranged based on who had the most wins. So at Ozeki 1 East, we are going to have Hoshoryu, who had the most wins of any Ozeki with his 11-4 record. At Ozeki 1 West, we will have Koto Nowaka or Koto Zakura, as he will officially be called on the Natsu Banzuke. So I've got him listed as Koto Zakura here, as he went 10-5 in the previous Basho. The only Ozeki staying in the same spot they were last time is Taka Keisho at Ozeki 2 East. He had the third most wins with his 8-7 record. And then Kirishima dropping to the bottom Ozeki rank at Ozeki 2 West following his 5-10 record. He will be Kadoban and will need 8 wins to maintain his Ozeki rank. Then we drop down to the Sekiwake, where Daisho going 6-9 from the Sekiwake East ranking opens up that spot, and Wakamoto Haru should very easily fill that rank as he went 9-6 from Sekiwake West. And then filling Wakamoto Haru's vacated Sekiwake West rank will be Abi, who went 9-6 from Komusubi East. This is going to be Abi's first appearance at the Sekiwake rank in exactly 2 years. So he's been flirting with Komusubi a lot recently, but this is his first winning record as a Komusubi in a couple of years. And there really isn't much discussion for those Sekiwake ranks. Technically, Asanoyama and Onosato both had records that would place them at the Sekiwake rank, but neither of them would have priority over Abi to take that Sekiwake West spot, and their cases aren't strong enough to force open new Sekiwake ranks. So,
yeah, this is not the spot that causes this outline to be 10 pages long.
Nope. That'll be around Maegashira too.
Got it.
So kind of spoiled my Komusubi rankings by mentioning Asanoyama and Onosato. They both deserve to be in the Sanyaku ranks. And luckily for Banzuke guessers, nobody else deserves to be in the Sanyaku ranks based on their previous rank and record. So these two should fill the 2 open Komusubi spots. The one vacated by the rising Abi, and the other vacated by the plummeting Nishikigi after his 3-12 record. So the only question...
Indeed.
Yeah. The only question is, what order will these two enter the Komusubi ranks? Both deserve to be the same rank based on their rank and record combination. Both were on the west side in the previous Banzuke, so it comes down to, are we going to give Asanoyama the east side because he had the higher rank previously, or are we going to give Onosato the east side because he had the most wins in the previous Basho? For this, I'm going to go with the higher ranked Rikishi for no real reason, and putting Asanoyama at Komusubi East and Onosato at Komusubi West. If I had to choose, I would say joy bias. I still believe in it, no matter how much that's shown me. It doesn't really exist a whole lot anymore. It still has some meaning, so I'm thinking Asanoyama get that little bit of an edge to claim the Komusubi East rank over Onosato, who I have landing at Komusubi West.
It's still real to Ryan, damn it.
It's still real to me. Then we have the Zone of Death. So that was a fairly easy Sanyaku ranks to fill out. If something other than that, besides Asanoyama and Onosato switching sides, if anything other than that one thing happens in the Sanyaku ranks, I would absolutely be floored. So very easy to fill out the Sanyaku ranks. But as easy as that was, that is how difficult the joy is to fill out. So Jake, I said Maegashira 2. It's going to start at Maegashira 1. So we have 4 Rikishi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 1. So this already sets us behind. So we've got 4 Rikishi to put into 2 spots. And then you have an additional 4 Rikishi that deserve to be in the top 7 Maegashira ranks overall that comprise the joy, so that we have now 8 Rikishi fighting for 7 spots. Not great, but not terrible, but then you also need to consider the record-setting Yusho winner Takerufuji and how much of an extra push he will get up the rankings and how that interacts with an already crowded Joy, an overcrowded Joy. So the four Rikishi that we're going to start with are the four that deserve to be Maegashira 1. Those are Atami Fuji, Hira Deumi, Gonoyama, and Takayasu. Only one of them was previously in the Joy and on the east side of the Banzuke, and that's Atami Fuji. So despite the shameful performance by the Banzuke committee in creating the Haru Banzuke while eschewing Banzuke norms, I still believe in East Side bias, so I have him landing at Maegashira 1 East. So what that does is that leaves us deciding.
Hey, we got to
between...
pause again because I didn't copy over the prediction colors. I copied just the values.
Nope, you're good.
All right, we're good.
All right. So that leaves us with deciding between Hira Deumi, Gonoyama, or Takayasu for the other Maegashira 1 rank. Or does it? Because lurking behind those three is Daieisho, who is dropping from the Sekiwake rank and deserves to be ranked Maegashira 2, just one rank behind those three Rikishi. And while Joy bias may be on life support, it does seem like Sanyaku Rikishi still receive a bit of a cushion when they drop down the Banzuke. There has been at least one dropping Sanyaku Rikishi that has gone ahead of a Rikishi they deserve to be behind in each of the last three Basho. So I'm going to continue that trend by having Daieisho land at Maegashira 1 West ahead of those three Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 1. Because well, so here's another thinking with that, Jake. If I were to put all three of those Rikishi ahead of Daieisho, that would fill up Maegashira 1 West and the Maegashira 2 rank and drop Daieisho down to Maegashira 3. And that's not even considering the Takerufuji of it all and where he ends up. So that is over demoting Daieisho by one rank, dropping from Sekiwake down to Maegashira 3, which you know how much I hate over demoting Rikishi, and we're going to get into that in a little bit more. So that's kind of my main reasoning for Daieisho, is then we'd have to like arbitrarily choose one of those three that all deserve to be equal, because Hira Deumi, Gonoyama, Takayasu all on the west side. So like they deserve the exact same rank. How do we differentiate between those, like where to put Daieisho to not over demote him? And I'm very positive they're not going to over demote Daieisho. And we've seen the bias come into it where the dropping Sanyaku Rikishi are going to go ahead of people they deserve to otherwise be behind. So I think for me, I'm not too worried about the Daieisho rank here. I'm pretty confident on that.
Sure. That's fair.
You don't seem convinced, but that's all right. I don't need to convince you.
It's one of those where like I have no better way to do it, but I just don't like it. You know,
there's a lot of that.
I imagine that will be far from the last time I make that face.
Yes, it will. So now we get to Maegashira 2. We got to decide between Hira Deumi, Gonoyama, or Takayasu for the Maegashira 2 East rank. Or do we? Because this is the first spot where I'm truly wondering if Takerufuji can end up here. So what I did is I took a look at the last four Maegashira to win a Yusho outside of the Joy and see where they ended up in the next Basho. So the first that I looked at was Asanoyama following his Yusho win in Natsu 2019. He had a 12-3 record from Maegashira 8. In Nagoya of 2019, he was the top-ranked Maegashira. He ended up ranked behind Tamawashi, Abi, and Ryuden, who all went 10-5 from Maegashira 3, 4, and 5, respectively. So he didn't jump ahead of any of those guys that deserve to be ahead of him. This put Asanoyama behind Ryuden, who deserved to be one rank behind Asanoyama. So never mind. So it actually penalized Asanoyama because he was behind Ryuden, who deserved to be behind Asanoyama.
I see.
So
okay.
No real preferential treatment given to Asanoyama. He was outside of the Joy. Ryuden was higher ranked, and they gave him an open Komusubi spot instead of Asanoyama there.
Gotcha. And so if anything, they kind of gave him like anti-Joy bias. You weren't in the Joy, so you should be punished for it kind of deal.
A little bit. So, but we have Asanoyama, Maegashira 1. Tokushoryu in Hatsu of 2020, he went 14-1. So this is Tokushoryu and Terunofuji is the ones I really wanted to look at, the Maegashira 17 U shows. So Tokushoryu 14-1 from Maegashira 17. In Haru 2020, the following Basho, he was ranked Maegashira 2 West. The Rikishi he was ranked behind were two Rikishi that dropped out of the Sanyaku ranks and deserved to be ranked ahead of him, and a Rikishi that had a winning record in the Joy and deserved to be ranked ahead of Tokushoryu. But what this did, this put Tokushoryu ahead of three Rikishi that he deserved to be ranked behind. Two non-Joy Rikishi with 10 plus wins and a Joy Rikishi with a losing record. So Tokushoryu, with that Yusho, he got a little bit extra boost up the rankings. He went ahead of three Rikishi he otherwise deserved to be behind. Then we have Terunofuji after his Yusho win in Nagoya of 2020. 13, exact same thing. 13-2 from Maegashira 17. Same thing we had with Takerufuji. So in Aki of 2020, the next Basho, he was ranked the top Maegashira 1 East. No Sanyaku Rikishi had a losing record this Basho, so he didn't jump ahead of any dropping Sanyaku Rikishi. But a Sanyaku rank was opened up by a Komusubi forcing open a Sekiwake slot. The open Komusubi slot was claimed by the prior Maegashira 1 East Rikishi that had gone 8-7. No other Rikishi went ahead of Terunofuji, meaning that he was ranked ahead of Joy Rikishi with winning records that deserved to be ranked ahead of him, and three other non-Joy Rikishi that deserved to be ranked ahead of him. So Terunofuji very much forced to the front of the line following his Yusho win. And then you had Abi winning in Kyushu of 2022. He went 12-3 from Maegashira 9. In Hatsu 2023, he was ranked Maegashira 3 East, only a jump up of 6 ranks for Abi here. So this was another Banzuke with an even more crowded Joy than this one. Everybody that had a winning record and deserved to be ahead of Abi ended up ahead of Abi here. All dropping Sanyaku Rikishi deserve to be ranked behind Abi, but they did end up ranked ahead of Abi in order to prevent their over demotion. He did end up ranked ahead of an 8-7 Rikishi that ended up with no promotion in order to put Abi ahead of him. So he didn't get any preferential treatment to go ahead of dropping Sanyaku Rikishi. They deserve to be behind him, but in order to prevent their over demotion, they went in front of Abi, but he still had enough extra push up the Banzuke that he went ahead of a Rikishi with a winning record that ended up with no promotion whatsoever.
Which doesn't really happen very much at all.
No. So
I'll be honest, I forgot Abi got a Yusho.
Yeah, it happened 2 years ago.
I saw this on there and I'm like, that doesn't sound. Oh yeah. No, him and Daisho and Tamawashi got a second one, so like he's that one sticks out in my mind a lot more. But Abi and Daisho are the ones where it's just like, hey, wait a second, they did get one, didn't they?
Yeah. So those were 4 fairly different scenarios for what happened
all over the place.
Yeah.
Complete random.
What does this tell me about how Takerufuji is going to be treated? What it does tell me there is a very good chance he could end up as high as Maegashira 2. We've already put Daisho here, which is the only dropping Sanyaku Rikishi that he has to contend with. Nishikiki is too far gone to really be in consideration at all with Takerufuji. But I don't know. It's really tough. So here tells me there's also precedent for him jumping ahead of this group of 3 Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 1, because Terunofuji, Tokushoryu got jumped ahead of Rikishi that had 10 plus wins and deserved to be ahead of them. So there is a chance he could jump over this 3. So my only issue with jumping Takerufuji up this high in the order, in order to do that, we're going to have to over demote a couple of Rikishi that were in the Joy and had losing records that deserve to be ranked ahead of Takerufuji. That's a situation no other Yusho winners had to contend with, really. I guess the only comp would be Abi, and they did not put Abi ahead of the dropping Sanyaku Rikishi in order to prevent their over demotions. Will that same grace be given to the Joy Rikishi that would be forced into an over demotion if Takerufuji was put in front of them. Now, we're not going to get to those Rikishi until a couple more ranks, but by putting anybody else in front of them would cause that chain reaction to force them to be over demoted. So for that reason, I can't put Takerufuji here, despite this really feeling like the right spot to me. And honestly, if Takerufuji goes this high and they over demote the Joy Rikishi, I'm not going to be shocked in the slightest. I'm going to kick myself in the ass. I'm like, I knew it. I should have done it, but I just can't, because I really tried to focus on what are my core tenets when I'm building the Banzuke, and like Sanyaku bias, joy bias, and not over demoting Rikishi in favor of Rikishi that deserve to be ranked behind them. And so that is a hard and fast rule that is followed almost always. And so for that reason, I can't quite pull the trigger on pulling Takerufuji as much as I really want to.
It really sounds like you want to, yeah.
Oh my God, so much. Like, I'm honestly like 60-40 that Takerufuji is going to be higher than where I put him, but it's just breaking too many of my kind of arbitrary rules that I just can't do it.
Okay, I gotcha.
So if we're eliminating Takerufuji, that means we are going to be choosing between Hiradeumi, Gonoyama, and Takayasu. All three were on the west side, so I can't separate any of those three out based on east side bias. So that means I have to choose who goes here based on the Rikishi that had either the highest rank or who had the most wins. In most situations, I wouldn't hesitate to place the Rikishi here based on the number of wins. That's what my typical tiebreaker is. But last Basho, we saw a couple of scenarios where a tiebreaker was won by a Rikishi with fewer wins, but a higher rank. But another tenet of my Banzuke predictions is to not base a prediction based on a previous Banzuke's out of the norm logic that was used to put it together. So since the higher rank Rikishi, higher rank winning the tiebreaker was out of the norm for the last Banzuke, and hopefully not a continuing trend, I will not base this Banzuke prediction on that. So that means I will place Takayasu, who had the most wins out of this group of three, at Maegashira 2 East, based on the fact that he had the most wins out of these three. That might be the most time we've ever had between revealing two Rikishi on my
I think it might be. Yeah. I had my mouse over the checkbox for like 15 minutes, it felt like.
Yep. That should be the longest on this episode, but no promises.
Well, so, I mean, yeah, you covered a lot of the Takerufuji stuff, and yeah, it's not like we have to cover the entire story each time. So yeah, each time you're thinking about putting him at a spot.
Yeah, so just in the back of your head until I put Takerufuji here, I was thinking, should I put Takerufuji this high?
Yeah, every rank, just pretend he said that.
Yeah, exactly. So the next in that group of three to be placed will be Gonoyama, no matter what logic we use, as he was the second highest ranked of this group and had the second most wins of this group of three. So no matter if it goes by rank, no matter if it goes by wins, Gonoyama would land at Maegashira 2 West. Then after Gonoyama, I will put Hiradeumi rising to Maegashira 3 East from Maegashira 4. I have Hiradeumi getting a smidge of bad luck in my prediction by only rising one rank after a 9-6 record, but sometimes them's the breaks when you're in a jumbled up joy situation.
Sure.
And then at Maegashira 3 West, I would really like to put Takerufuji here, but I can't. Tobizaru was Maegashira 4 East last spot. Oh, so here's the thing. Let me read through this, and then I'll go through the thing that just popped in my head. So Tobizaru was Maegashira 4 East last Basho and had 8 wins, meaning that he needs some sort of promotion, and this is the last place he can go without receiving any promotion whatsoever. So this is where I will put Tobizaru and continue to punt on placing Takerufuji. Jake, do you know what I just thought of that I should have done?
Yes, you are now remembering the several paragraphs ago when you said that, yes, that does sometimes or has some precedent to not get a promotion for 8 wins. Yep. In the case, was that Abi's case where
that was Abi's case where they boosted him ahead of a Rikishi with 8 and 7 wins, forcing them to not receive any promotion on that Banzuke.
So it's possible.
It's possible.
But rare.
It's a stronger possibility than you might think for Tobizaru to stay put at Maegashira 4 East in order to allow Takerufuji up here. So then we get to Maegashira 4, and here we have the two Rikishi that are the real shit stirrers and are causing me to put Takerufuji lower and lower down my Banzuke. So we have Ura and Oho, both of whom were previously in the Joy and had losing records. By the math, both deserve to be 2 ranks higher than Takerufuji. The real issue is that Ura went 6 and 9 for Maegashira 1, Oho 7 and 8 for Maegashira 3, which means Maegashira 4 is the furthest we can drop these Rikishi without over demoting them. Over demoting a Rikishi is not something that is impossible. It happens a lot when there are too many Rikishi that deserve to be ahead of you. But that's the key word there. Ahead and deserve. And my definition of deserve is based on the theoretical mathematical placements, which I mentioned before, mean Oho and Ura deserve to be ahead of Yusho winner Takerufuji. So this is where my whole big conundrum lands me for this Banzuke. What do I trust? Do I trust what I have seen over the years of studying Banzukes where Rikishi are not over demoted in favor of a Rikishi that deserves to be behind them? Or do I trust that this Banzuke committee is going to continue to break standard rules as they have in the past to make sure Takerufuji gets a proper boost up the Banzuke? I'm not going to trust this Banzuke committee to reliably do anything. And what would the reliable thing for them to do at this point be? For this Banzuke committee, the reliable thing for them to do is to be unreliable. So I'm going to trust them to be unreliably reliable and follow the unwritten rule.
Yeah, so clearly I can't pick the Rikishi in front of me.
The logic couldn't be more clear, Jake.
So clearly I can't pick the Rikishi in front of you.
Yes. So basically what it comes down to, I'm going to trust that they're following the unwritten rule of not over demoting a Rikishi in favor of someone who deserves to be ranked below them. So what that means is I have Oho dropping 1 rank to Maegashira 4 East after his 7 and 8 record, and Ura dropping 3 ranks to Maegashira 4 West after his 6 and 9 record. I have Oho ahead of Ura since they were both previously on the east side, and Oho had more wins, 7 compared to Ura's 6. An issue, Jake, for the Tobizaru scenario we just discussed. If we left Tobizaru and put Takerufuji at Maegashira 3 West, we're still dropping one of Oho or Ura. We're still over demoting them, which
right.
I'm going to assume so I've been very busy over the past 2 to 3 weeks. My Banzuke prediction was done like 3 weeks ago. Just this is how sausage gets made. We're recording this the day before we're going to release this episode. So my Banzuke
we should have recorded it when you did it, but that's okay.
But I hadn't gone through my entire write-up, and I need this write-up in order to record these episodes.
And I have spent like 4 or 5 nights at home over the last couple of weeks. So.
Yeah, but point
being made though. Go on.
Yeah, I had done this like 3 or 4 weeks ago. My prediction was done, and then I had started the write-up for this, and then I came back yesterday and finished up the write-up and had to like rethink through all of this logic and find what made sense and what doesn't make sense, and I had to have the whole fight with myself about Takerufuji all over again to make sure it made sense to me. You interrupted me, so I honestly don't remember where I was going with this point beforehand. But just let you know, if I sound more confused or jumbled, it's because I was working in like 2 different sets of mindsets because we compiled this episode across like 3 weeks with a huge break in between.
I interrupt you to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't stretch those muscles, they'll get weak. So
yeah, well, apparently they're very weak. So I have no idea where I was going with that point.
If you got into astronomy instead of sumo wrestling, you'd be one of those guys with like an intricate clockwork solar system of like the planets like going around each other on gears and stuff. I feel like we need the equivalent of that for a Banzuke somehow. I don't know what that is, but you need some sort of like weird contraption that does nothing but gather dust and confuse people until it's Banzuke time.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on. So finally, and very begrudgingly, and very, very pessimistically, I will be placing Takerufuji at Maegashira 5 East. I can almost guarantee you this is not where he's going to end up.
Coming from the guy who's proven to be the best at this.
Yes, quite literally, I am number one at guessing these Bonskes, and I have very little confidence as to where this man will end up. So I have him rising 12 ranks following his historic 13-win Makuuchi debut. My biggest fear is that historically, this would be the lowest ranked any Yusha winner would be following their Yusha win in the modern era. There's been one other Maegashira Yusha winner that ended up as low as Maegashira 5, but that was like in the 20s or 30s or something like that. No, it was Ryogoku actually in 1914. I remember that now.
The last guy to win his debut tournament in the top division.
It would be apropos if Takerufuji ended up here. So the previous lowest rank for a Maegashira in the modern era was Abi at Maegashira 3 in Hatsu of 2023. This also places Takerufuji outside of the Joy. I have absolutely zero evidence to support this, as this is fairly unprecedented circumstances. But for some reason, there's a big part of me that's saying the Banzuke committee would want the Yusho winner to at least end up in the Joy following their Yusho. But as I have no evidence to back that claim, and at least some evidence to back my over demotion claims, I'm sticking with that and hoping for the best.
No, that makes sense.
So we've placed the big sticking points for this Banzuke. Things would have been a lot easier if Tobizaru had a losing record, if Hiradumi, Takayasu, Gonoyama all didn't deserve to be Maegashira 1. If there was just a little bit more room in the Joy, things would have been a lot easier. But the fact that we had a low Maegashira Yusha winner in combination with a very crowded Joy makes it very difficult to figure out where all the pieces are going to end up. But we're past that now. And so we're going to be able to cruise for a little bit until we get to another fairly big mess at the bottom of the Banzuke.
Excellent.
So, for Maegashira 5 West, we have Meisei and Onosho, who are tied for who deserve this ranking. Onosho was on the east side previously. Meisei was on the west side. So could very easily put Onosho ahead of Meisei. But Meisei was in the Joy and Onosho was not. And while Joy bias, as I said before, has seemingly been completely overlooked in recent Banzukes, we have still seen them get enough preferential treatment to overcome east-west side bias when deserving to be the same rank as a non-Joy Rikishi. Also, if we didn't put Meisei at Maegashira 5, we would be over-demoting him by a rank. He would be dropping 4 spots to Maegashira 6 from Maegashira 2. As we've discussed plenty, I'm not going to do that, so I have Meisei landing at Maegashira 5 West. Then that should very easily land Onosho at Maegashira 6 East after his 9-6 record from Maegashira 8, as he is the Rikishi that deserves to be ranked the highest at this point. Nobody else in contention with him. There is one Rikishi left that deserves to be ranked Maegashira 6 now. Takerufuji deserves to be ranked Maegashira 6, but we're putting him ahead of these guys. So that's not even something that I mentioned. I am putting Takerufuji ahead of some Rikishi he otherwise deserves to be ranked behind in Meisei and Onosho. Both of them deserve to be ranked Maegashira 5. Takerufuji deserves to be ranked Maegashira 6. So that's why I added in at the top of the episode, there's actually 5 ranks Takerufuji could feasibly go at, because maybe they decide, no, Meisei was in the Joy. Onosho had a better record than you. You weren't in the Joy. You're not getting any sort of bias. You're going to land where you land, and that deserves to be Maegashira 6. So feasibly, I could put Takerufuji anywhere from Maegashira 2 to Maegashira 6. But there was one other Rikishi that deserved to be Maegashira 6, and that was Midori Fuji. He should easily end up at Maegashira 6 West following his 7-8 record from Maegashira 5. There's only one Rikishi that deserves to be ranked Maegashira 7. That's Mitake Yumi. So I have him rising 3 ranks from Maegashira 10 to fill the Maegashira 7 East rank. We do hit a little bit of a speed bump here at Maegashira 7 West. So there are 3 Rikishi that we need to consider that all deserve to be ranked Maegashira 8 to fill the Maegashira 7 spot. Takanosho, Tamawashi, and Koto Shoho. All of these Rikishi were previously on the west side, so no help from east-west tiebreaker. But Takanosho was ranked in the Joy last Basho, so that is good enough for me to put him ahead of the other 2, despite having fewer wins than both of them. But there's also a Nishikigi lingering just behind them. He deserves to be ranked Maegashira 9. And as he was previously in the Sanyaku ranks, I think he could get some Sanyaku bias and land ahead of these 3 Rikishi. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have Nishikigi landing at Maegashira 7 West, following his 3-12 record from Komusubi. Then at Maegashira 8, we have Nishikigi butting ahead of those 3 that I mentioned. So now we have to sort out those 3. I had mentioned Takanosho was in the Joy. The other 2 were not. So I'm going to have him landing at Maegashira 8 East, getting a little bit of Joy bias there. And then we're left with Tamawashi landing at Maegashira 8 West. Typically, I would have Koto Shoho going ahead of Tamawashi since he had more wins than Tamawashi. But if Tamawashi goes any lower, he would be over demoted, which, as we have extensively discussed at this point, I don't like to do. There's a lot of this whole over demotion talk in this Banzuke.
And I'm not having it.
I'm not in my prediction. If I can avoid it, I'm going to avoid it. Sorry about
nice
that.
My guest appearance from the cat.
Well my done. Cats are going into business for themselves.
They're like, you know what? We will over demote people.
A bad sign of things away. To come. Bad sign of things to come for my prediction, if my cats have anything to say.
A black cat literally crossed your path when you decided not to over demote somebody.
Yep. Yeah. So just shows where my prediction is going to go. This is going to be a very bad scoring one for me. Thanks,
hooray.
All right. So Maegashira 9 is interesting. We're still kind of figuring out the group of 4 Rikishi: Nishikigi, Takanosho, Tamawashi, Koto Shoho. I am going to suffer a little bit of minor breaking of rules here to have Koto Shoho rise just a half rank from Maegashira 9 West to Maegashira 9 East following his 8-7 record. We're allowing this rule breaking. It's the tiebreaker rule that I'm breaking of Tamawashi going ahead of Koto Shoho, despite Koto Shoho having more wins. Because with this group of 4 Rikishi that we've just placed, some rule needs to, written or unwritten or otherwise, needs to be broken. Sanyaku bias, Joy bias, not over demoting a Rikishi, and breaking a tie with the number of wins. So if I break Sanyaku bias for Nishikigi, I can have Nishikigi land behind all 3 of these guys and preserve those other rules. Like Joy bias, Takanosho can go ahead of the other 2. Tamawashi can drop to Maegashira 8 West. Koto Shoho can go ahead of him at Maegashira 8 East. All those rules are in play, but then the Sanyaku bias that we see consistently used would be ignored. If I decide, as I have, that Sanyaku bias is more important than the other rules, then I need to decide which of these other rules I want to break, as not all of them can be kept intact, and all 3 or 4 different rules that we're playing with definitely cannot be kept intact. So let's assume, okay, Sanyaku bias isn't a thing. Let's place these 3 guys. If we go, we could do Koto Shoho at Maegashira 7 West. That keeps him ahead of, well, actually, that is the one way it works. I hadn't thought of this scenario, which was eschewing both Sanyaku bias and Joy bias. Koto Shoho would go at Maegashira 7 West, as he would win the tiebreaker for the most wins. Then Tamawashi would drop. No, Tamawashi would go to Maegashira 8 East, a 1 rank demotion, and then Takanosho. Takanosho would go to Maegashira 8 West. But in order to do that, we're breaking not only Joy bias, but Sanyaku bias in order to make it happen. So basically, I had to figure out which of these rules or customs am I most comfortable with breaking? Because obviously there's no way that all of these things can work together in harmony at this point. I decided that protecting the Sanyaku and the Joy Rikishi was the higher priority than making sure Koto Shoho got 8 wins and Tamawashi had 7 wins. You can't put Koto Shoho behind Tamawashi. No, I decided that is the rule that feels the most flimsy, and I'm not going to try to hold back the other things from happening to protect that thing.
Sure.
So that's how I ended up with this grouping for these 4. And then we get to Maegashira 9 West. There are 2 Rikishi left that deserve this rank, Shodai and Shonan Naomi. Both were East Side, and Shonan Naomi had more wins, so he should get the spot, but here we are again with another familiar situation. Shodai went 8-7 from Maegashira 10 East. This is the last spot he can land while still receiving a promotion. So once again, I have to break my standard tie-breaking rules to make a special exception and play Shodai at Maegashira 9 West. I don't think there's been a singular Banzuke where we have a lot of ties and I can't go with my standard tie breaking rules that on some Banzukes, it's just every single situation, just go by the tie breaking rules and you're fine. Like there's a special exception in all of these spots.
Yeah. I mean, the types of things that make it so that you have to abandon your tiebreaker rules, very, very few specific types of things. And we've done it like 4 times now. That's just this is like a uniquely difficult one. It sounds like so far.
Yeah. Maegashira 10, this spot should easily, if Shodai's going ahead of Shonan Naomi, then Shonan Naomi should easily land Maegashira 10 East following his 9-6 record from Maegashira 12. Then we have a group of 3 Rikishi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 10 fighting for this spot. But one of them is Juryo Yusho winner Mitoryu, and we're not going to consider him until we place the final 2 Makuuchi Rikishi that had winning records. So that leaves us with Sada Naomi or Keen Bozan for this spot. Keen Bozan was on the east side, Sada Naomi was on the west side. So I think for the first time on this Banzuke, easily have Keen Bozan taking the Maegashira 10 West rank due to his east side bias. Then at Maegashira 11, I have Sada Naomi getting a minor promotion from Maegashira 11 West to Maegashira 11 East, following his 8-7 record. Then at Maegashira 11 West, we're going to be forced to over-promote or under-demote a Rikishi for the first time on this Banzuke. I don't think that's actually true now that I've gone through this again. I think the Maegashira 7 West one, no matter what, no matter who I put there of the 4 that I discussed, was an under demotion or over promotion. So for the second time on this Banzuke, we are forced to over promote or under demote Rikishi. We have cleared all the Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 10, with the exception of Mitoryu. And there are no Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 11, so we have to choose between 2 Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 12, Takerufuji or Ichi Yamamoto. Both were on the east side, and Ichi Yamamoto had more wins, so I have Ichi Yamamoto sliding from Maegashira 11 East to Maegashira 11 West, following a 7-8 record. Also, if Ichi Yamamoto had been on the west side previously, oh, wait, he was on the west side, right? No, he was on the east.
He was 11 East.
Okay, yeah. If Ichi Yamamoto had been on the west side and Hokuto Fuji was on the east side, and Hokuto Fuji won east side bias, well, nope, I'm being dumb. Don't listen to me. Okay. We're going to move on. I'm creating scenarios that don't exist. Never mind. Maegashira 12. That leaves
that is the next number. Let's do that.
alone as the next Rikishi that deserves to be ranked. So I have him landing at Maegashira 12 East following his 6-9 record from Maegashira 9. I told you told you at the top of the episode, this one messed with my head, people.
Yeah.
It still is.
It's got you in knots. Even reading the script that you wrote for yourself.
I know. I just got to trust the words that I had in here when I was of more clear mind yesterday.
Yeah, there you go. Just do it karaoke style and read whatever's on the screen.
Yeah,
go full Ron Burgundy.
Yep. Then I'll speak all the typos that I often find before I read them, and so it comes out more cleaner in the episode. You think I proofread this thing? Absolutely not.
I don't think that. Why
Maegashira
did you put a
12.
red underline over the entire script? Oh no, that's bad.
Maegashira 12 on the west side. There's just one Rikishi that deserves to take the next rank, and that is Nishiki Fuji, who went 8-7 for Maegashira 14. So a little bit of an over promotion for him, landing at Maegashira 12 West. So with placing Nishiki Fuji, we have now placed the final Makuuchi Rikishi that had a winning record, which means it is time to start placing our Juryo Rikishi. The first one to consider is Mitoryu. He went 12-3 from Juryo 2, and there is 4 ranks difference between him and the closest Makuuchi Rikishi, so he should easily slot in at Maegashira 13 East. No controversy there. Maegashira 13 West is going to be a curious case, however. We have 2 Rikishi that both deserve to be Maegashira 14 vying for this spot. Juryo Rikishi Oshoma and Makuuchi Rikishi Chura no Umi, who went 7-8 from the Maegashira 13 West spot that we are trying to fill. So our typical rules surrounding Juryo Rikishi are that they need to deserve to be at least 1 rank higher than the Makuuchi Rikishi to end up ahead of them. But will that rule hold true when doing so means that we have to keep a 7-8 Rikishi at their previous rank? I'm always going to default to screwing over the Juryo Rikishi, and I will continue to do so here. So I have Chura no Umi holding on to the Maegashira 13 West rank following a 7-8 record.
It's good to know that one of the rules is basically always safe.
We'll see. That's how I feel. We'll see how the Banzuke committee feels. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
I'm just saying, for years and years, there's been very few times where it's like, hey, they were actually nice to the Juryo guy. Anytime that does happen, it's a big exception. But
yes,
yeah,
I feel like it happened one time that I can remember. That was Hokuseiho and Kim Bozan's debut basho, where they treated them like equal people, and it was weird, yucky, and they haven't done it since. They learned their lesson.
Yeah, just don't do that.
Yeah. So after we place Chura no Umi, the next Makuuchi Rikishi that deserves to be ranked is Ryuden at Maegashira 16. So Oshoma is 2 ranks clear of him and should be able to land at Maegashira 14 East. Then to fill Maegashira 14 West, we need to look at Rikishi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 16 or lower. And the only 2 real candidates that are available are Ryuden, who would get a generous 1 rank demotion following a 6-9 record from Maegashira 13, or Tsurugisho, who went 2-13 for Maegashira 6, but he does deserve to be 1 rank lower than Ryuden. Historically, it doesn't seem like mid Maegashira Rikishi get any bias over lower ranked Maegashira, so I have Ryuden getting the generous under demotion and landing at Maegashira 14 West. Then I'm going to have Tsurugisho taking the Maegashira 15 East rank. He isn't the Makuuchi Rikishi that deserves to be ranked the highest at this point. That's Roga. But Roga went 7-8 for Maegashira 15 West and can't be bumped up to Maegashira 15 East. And there are no Juryo Rikishi that deserve to be ranked higher than Tsurugisho. There's some that deserve to be ranked the same rank as Tsurugisho, but the same isn't higher. So Tsurugisho should end up here by default, unless we're being nice to Juryo Rikishi, which no. Of
course.
Then at Maegashira 15 West, we have Roga. I have him holding on to his rank following a 7-8 record. Like I said, no Makuuchi Rikishi that can be ranked ahead of him, and no Juryo Rikishi that deserves to be ranked ahead of him, or even the same rank as him. So to me, no reason to drop Roga here. Keep him after his 7-8 record. Then we have, starting at Maegashira 16, we have 3 more ranks left to fill. Maegashira 16 East and West, and then Maegashira 17 East. There is no Maegashira 17 West. And we've got 5 Rikishi vying for these 3 spots, meaning there's going to be 2 disappointed Rikishi at the top of Juryo next basho. So of those 5, 3 of those Rikishi are Juryo Rikishi, and two of them are Makuuchi. One Makuuchi Rikishi that deserves to be Maegashira 17 alongside those three Juryo Rikishi, and one Makuuchi Rikishi that deserves to be Juryo 1 that could get preferential treatment and land ahead of some of the Juryo Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 17, like Endo went ahead of Daiamami last Basho despite deserving to be ranked below him. So I think the first spot to fill is straightforward to me, at least. The Makuuchi Rikishi that deserves Maegashira 17 can't be ranked here because that would be a promotion for Daiamami, who went 7 and 8 from Maegashira 16 West. And there has been enough recent history that Juryo Rikishi that deserve to be one rank ahead of a Makuuchi Rikishi will be ranked ahead of them. That push-in has kind of softened a little bit over the past year. It used to be for me, you got to be deserve to rank 2 ranks ahead of a Rikishi. I've seen enough evidence over the past year that I am softening that. If you just deserve to be 1 rank ahead of them as a Juryo Rikishi, you're probably going to go ahead of them. So the of those 3 Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 17 from Juryo, only one of them was on the east side, and that is Toki Hayate, who went 8 and 7 from the top Juryo rank, and I have him taking the Maegashira 16 east spot. Then at Maegashira 16 West, we once again have to decide if we're going to keep a 7 and 8 Makuuchi Rikishi at his previous rank or place a Juryo Rikishi that deserves the same rank as them ahead of them. And there's no reason for me to treat this any different than how I treated the first case with Chura Naomi versus Oshoma. So I'm going to keep the 7 and 8 Makuuchi Rikishi at their previous rank, which means I have Daiamami remaining at Maegashira 16 West. So our final Makuuchi rank, we are left with Takerufuji, who went 8 and 7 from Juryo 1 West, Tomokaze, who went 9 and 6 from Juryo 3 West, or Myogiryu, who went 6 and 9 from Maegashira 15. Takerufuji, Tomokaze both deserve to be Maegashira 17, and Myogiryu deserves to be Juryo 1. So for me, the thing that I decided immediately when choosing between these 3 is I'm eliminating Takerufuji from consideration for this spot.
Why is that?
I'll tell you. Looking at the history,
I don't know why I didn't think that was, of course, going to be the next thing you talk about. Sorry. That was dumb. Continue.
Yeah, looking at the history of a 9 and 6 Juryo 3 Rikishi and an 8 and 7 Juryo 1 Rikishi that were on the same side of the Banzuke, these two are both on the west side. I saw that the 9 and 6 Juryo 3 Rikishi almost always, if not always, in the recent time span that I looked at it, went ahead of the 8 and 7 Juryo 1 Rikishi, which would put Tomokaze ahead of Takerufuji. And if anybody's ahead of Takerufuji, he's not getting into the top division because there's only one spot left. So this even occurred in a situation where the 8 and 7 Juryo 1 West Rikishi kept that rank in the next Basho and received no promotion to allow the 9 and 6 Juryo 3 Rikishi to jump them.
Really? That's
yes.
weird. Okay.
It was a couple years ago. Ryuden was Juryo 3. Hida Naomi was Juryo 1. Hida Naomi kept his Juryo 1 West rank, and Ryuden jumped to Juryo 1 East.
Cool.
So if that logic holds true and Takerufuji is eliminated, that just leaves it to be between Tomokaze or Myogiryu. This happens every once in a while. We get a true like Juryo Makuuchi coin flip at the bottom of the Banzuke. There was a similar situation for the Kyushu 2023 Basho, so not too long ago at all, where the final spot came down to a Maegashira versus a Juryo Rikishi, and the Juryo Rikishi deserved to be 1 rank ahead of the Maegashira Rikishi, much like Tomokaze deserves to be 1 rank ahead of Myogiryu. In that case, the Banzuke committee went with the Juryo Rikishi that deserved to be ranked higher. So I will do the same in this situation and have Tomokaze take the Maegashira 17 East ranking. So that fills out our 42 top division Rikishi. We are left with 22 Rikishi on the east side and 20 on the west side, just due to imbalances in the Sanyaku ranks. But we brought up 4 Rikishi from Juryo: Mitoryu, Oshoma, Toki Hayate, and Tomokaze, which means if that number holds true, Might not. Might only send 3 up if they decide to keep Miyogiryu. We'll see what they decide to do. But if that holds true, we would be sending 4 down, and the 4 that I would be sending down are Shimazu Umi, Kita no Waka, and people that have been in the top division the entire time Jake and I have been watching sumo, Endo and Miyogiryu.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So, Jake, I gave you plenty of options and my opinion on what I think I got wrong this basho. What are you looking at thinking that Ryan messed this up?
I mean, obviously the Takerufuji promotion.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Not really any drama to it this time around figuring out what I'm going to guess, but yeah, that's obviously the big one. That range of, what did you say, 2 through 6 that he could realistically fall, but it would just I like the way that you phrased it, where you have your tiebreaker rules and they can't all coexist, so you were trying to sort out which one is going to fail. And
Yeah.
I think that's going to provide you some good data, and that's going to be frustrating when it comes to scoring your Banzuke.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that will be the most useful thing. I'm also kind of curious on this Juryo turnover, the relegations here. Usually not very much drama there, but coming down to a coin flip, like you said, between Tomokaze and Miyogiryu, that's gonna be a tough one.
Yeah, I would say definitely the big trouble spots for me are Takerufuji, just kind of where, like, I feel like the order of everybody that I have besides Takerufuji is like correct. Takayasu Gonoyama, Hirode Umi, they should be ahead of Tobizaru, who should be ahead of Oho Ura. So like
Sure.
those guys are correct. It's just, where is Takerufuji kind of fit in there?
Yeah, and if they just decide that one of those rules, one of the other rules, is the one that can be broken, like let's say Tobizaru doesn't need a promotion, then yeah, that could shuffle things a little bit.
Yeah. And then also the Maegashira 7 West or Maegashira 9 East with like Nishikigi, Takanosho, Tamawashi, Koto, Shoho. That was like the real spot where it's like something's gotta break here. One of the traditional things that we see acknowledged in creating a Banzuke, one of those things is going to be broken. It has to. There's no way it doesn't. So
Right.
kind of seeing how that plays out. Did I get that right? Probably not. And then yeah, the bottom of the Banzuke, the 2 spots where I had the 7 and 8 Maegashira Rikishi keep their spot ahead of a Juryo Rikishi that deserves the same rank as them. So Oshoma could easily knock Chura no Umi down from Maegashira 13 West. Tomokaze could easily, hell, you could have anywhere from 3 to 5 Juryo promotions, because what if they decide Daiamami deserves to be the same rank as Takerufuji, Tomokaze? What if they decide, hey, Daiamami, you're going down to Juryo. We're going to bring up both Takerufuji and Tomokaze and send Daiamami down alongside Miyogiryu. Or they could decide, we'll keep them both, and Miyogiryu gets Maegashira 17, and Takerufuji and Tomokaze are stuck at Juryo 1. All of those are feasible situations. 3, 4, or 5 Rikishi coming up from Juryo and going down from Makuuchi. There's a lot of trouble spots all over the place on this sumbitch. I don't like it.
No shortage of yeah, it's a feast for what did Ryan get wrong segment.
Yeah.
Or what will Ryan get wrong segment.
The Banzuke review is going to have a lot of good data, as long as the Banzuke committee just isn't willy-nilly with what they do and treat. That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna keep Chura no Umi but knock down Daiamami, and Takerufuji's gonna Who
the
knows?
most frustrating possible answer is not that you got the list of priorities wrong. The most frustrating answer, which is most likely, is that it won't even be internally consistent with itself.
The priorities are gonna change all throughout the Banzuke. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yep. All right. So that is the Banzuke prediction. Once again, I apologize for my undecidedness on this one, but these episodes
just so unprofessional.
These episodes, more than anything, are a glimpse into Ryan's mind and how it works. And
yeah, no kidding.
the uncertainty that I am constantly battling in every phase of my life. This is the only space. Like, you guys get to hear the way my mind works better than my wife does, because she's never going to listen to these episodes.
But now you know the internal monologue when Ryan is like, oh God, what do we cook for dinner?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Do I prioritize leftovers? How do I do? What's the tiebreaker rules here?
The past precedent is we always go with leftovers as opposed to cooking something new. But what if the something new is like a
Come
really
back.
nice
Nope. Come
steak
back.
that we
Come
don't
back.
want to have grow old and the leftovers just some
You're too
tacos that have
deep.
been there for a week?
You're too deep. Ryan, come back for the sake of your
I'm
family.
sorry. I'm sorry. All right.
Put a wrap
So
on this thing before we lose you.
as I mentioned, the Banzuke for this will be released April 28th, America time. Pretty sure it's April 29th in Japan. And the Basho starts on my birthday, May 12th, the second Sunday, also Mother's Day. So it's a threefer. Say I love you to your mother, watch some sumo, say I love you to your favorite sumo podcaster.
It's funny. I have two of those three things written down on my calendar, and one of them is not Mother's Day.
Jake's got his priorities right. Let's go.
Hey.
All right. If you enjoy us, find us on social media. You know where it is at this point. Thank you for listening. And until next time, throw your salt high, and keep moving forward, and second guess everything.
You got sucked in like Flarek. You're doing the let's go unironically now, aren't you?
I know.